Hi, this is Stephen Horne, and today I want to talk to you about how to support the system that supports you. We're referring, of course, to the structural system, the system of our bones and muscles and skin and so forth that make up the bulk of our body and also our ability to move and stand and do what we want. So the structural system, of course, consists of the bones, the muscles, but also connective tissue like ligaments and tendons that attach uh, bones to bones or bones to muscles, skin, and also we could consider the mucous membranes lining our gastrointestinal tract to also be part of this structural system, although they would also be part of the digestive system as well. So we're the tissue system of the body, that is the main structural component, has some very important health needs, and one of those is exercise. Uh, when we are too sedentary, we are not getting the movement we need to build up bone and muscle strength. Bones develop greater strength when there is a load placed on them, which is why when astronauts go into space for long periods of time, they have to exercise very, very vigorously because the weightlessness actually causes their bones to start to break down without the weight of gravity. So when you do resistance exercise, such as lifting weights, you're not only strengthening muscles, you're also strengthening bones. Muscle burns more calories than fat tissue does. So having more muscle mass actually gives you a better metabolism for burning calories. So body structure is going to deteriorate if you don't use it, which is why exercise is very critical to the health of our structural system. One of the other things that we need to be aware of is the effect of posture on our structural system. And a lot about things with our posture and our body uh, basically is revealing a lot about our mental and emotional attitudes because there's a connection and a correlation between the way our body functions and the way we are. And our body doesn't lie. This book, The Body Has Its Reasons, is a book that really helped me understand this concept that body work and emotional healing work can go hand in hand because healing our unresolved mental and emotional issues actually can affect our posture and the way we stand and the way we carry our body because when we've had a lot of abuse or trauma that we haven't recovered from, we can be carrying around a lot of muscle tension that causes problems for us. To understand this better, all muscles come in basically pairs. This is like a tent post. So the green thing in the center is like a tent post, and if you've ever pitched a tent, an old-fashioned tent, you have to get the tension on both the ropes on both sides to be the same so it holds the tent pole upright. Well, a similar thing happens in our body, except the bones are like the tent pole and the muscles are like the guy wires or the ropes that are staked out. So we have muscle pairs, and those two pairs of muscles, one pulling one way, the other pulling the other way, have to be balanced in order to maintain proper structural alignment and hold our body upright. If one set of muscles becomes overly tight, the muscles on the opposite side will become overly stretched, thus causing the body to move out of alignment and out of its optimal posture. I learned about this from a certified uh, athletic therapist in Canada named Deanna Hansen. And Deanna, basically, who's pictured here, uh, explained to me how the body gets out of alignment, showing, how the bones are supposed to carry the weight of our body, not our muscles. But when our body's out of alignment, then muscles are tensing, and those tense muscles will eventually become exhausted, cramp, and cause a lot of pain. So the fact that a lot of people kind of lean forward or drop their head forward or whatever is causing the muscles in the back or the back of their neck to have to work really hard to try to hold the weight of their head up against gravity, or the weight of their body up against gravity, and as those muscles fatigue, we get pain. So I'll learn from her a lot about the importance of body structure. And of course, some of this is related to how we feel about ourselves, which is why our alignment gets out in the first place. This is showing the same concept side to side instead of front to back. A lot of us stand with the weight on one leg, let the other leg go lax. This also throws the body out from side to side, again making some muscles have to tense or other muscles get stretched in order to try to maintain the proper alignment of the body. This is one reason why stretching exercises can be very helpful, to basically stretch out the muscles that have been overly contracted uh, and basically stretch the muscles that have been compressed. So since a lot of us tend to lean forward as we walk, stretching backwards to basically give those muscles in the back that have been having to be so tight, holding the weight of our body up, a break, and let the other muscles basically get stronger in the abdomen, helps realign our body. And just practicing, just standing up straighter, sitting up straighter, distributing our weight evenly on both legs can go a long ways to helping to relieve structural problems. I used to get a lot more back pain, neck pain, etc. before I learned that and started paying more attention to my posture and started learning to stretch my body to compensate for things like sitting at a desk a lot. Of course, nutrition is extremely important for the structural system as well. Dr. Weston Price, who was a prominent dentist, the head of the American Dental Association of his time, who had also written a major textbook for teaching dentistry, had the independent wealth to basically travel the world in the 1930s studying nutrition. And the results of his findings were published in this book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, which is a classic of nutrition. What Dr. Weston Price did is he basically compared the bones, teeth, and general health of native people living on traditional diets with the bones, teeth, and general health of people living on modern civilized quote-unquote foods, modern processed or refined foods in the same area of the world. And what he found is that native people, although they had plaque on their teeth, had no tooth decay or gum disease. And he also found that their wisdom teeth did not impact because their jaws were wider and allowed for their wisdom teeth to come in naturally. He also found that they had very few problems with their bones, no osteoporosis, no arthritis, that sort of thing. They also had really strong immune systems. They rarely got sick, as well as also very low rates of crime in their societies. So he took samples of their food and sent it back to the United States to compare with the nutrient value for foods that people commonly ate in Western civilization. And what he found is that native people had 10 times more fat-soluble vitamins and 4 times more water-soluble vitamins in their diet than people living on the foods of Western civilization. And keep in mind, this is in the 30s. I think the situation is much worse today. So the amount of vitamins and minerals we're getting in our diet and our foods are probably much, much lower than they were even in the 30s. He also found that the macro mineral content, this is major minerals like calcium and magnesium and phosphorus, was 3 to 4 times higher. He didn't investigate trace minerals, but I have read research indicating that modern foods may have as little as 1/10 or maybe even 1/20th or less of the amount of trace minerals in foods that were compared to foods grown 100 years ago. So we're just not in the foods that we're getting due to the agricultural practices we have of not replenishing the soil the way we should, due to the shipping and storage and refining of our foods and so forth. We're just not getting the vitamins and minerals we need to have healthy structural systems or healthy bodies. And he concluded that tooth decay was one of the early signs of malnutrition, of not getting enough nutrients to sustain the health of the body. And since pretty much everybody in Western civilization has tooth decay. That suggests that pretty much everybody in Western civilization isn't getting enough vitamins and minerals. Now, what most people don't understand is that our bones and teeth are living tissue. Because we think of bones as something like, dried up dead bones hanging around for a while, we think of them as kind of solid things, but they're not. They're basically being constantly torn down and regenerated. Uh, Osteoclasts are cells that break down bone, and osteoblasts are cells that build bone, and they're both at work constantly breaking down old bone and rebuilding new bone. It's sort of like constantly going and tearing up the old road and putting down fresh asphalt. Um, Injured bone is constantly being removed and replaced. So basically, bones can regenerate with good nutrition just like any other tissue can. And so can teeth, because again, teeth are constantly also being nourished from the inside out. So it's not so much the fact that we're eating sugar and getting it on our teeth, causing plaque to get tooth decay, as we're eating sugar and refined carbohydrates and other processed foods, and thus we're not getting enough minerals and nutrients necessary to keep replenishing our teeth and keep them healthy. So this is a huge important part of maintaining a healthy structural system. Dr. Weston Price found that the indigenous groups that had the highest immunity to tooth decay and the best general health ate foods from at least two of the following food sources each day: either whole milk, non-pasteurized, non-homogenized dairy products from grass-fed animals, grazing animals, or fish and shellfish, including the organ parts of the fish, uh, or the organs of land animals, like the liver and lungs and kidneys and so forth, because there's a lot of vitamins and minerals in the organ meats that are not in the muscle meat. Well, obviously, people in our society have very little access, most of us, to grass-fed dairy products that haven't been tampered with, or pasteurized. We don't necessarily have access to fresh fish and shellfish, and we definitely don't eat much in the way of organ meats, so we're not getting some of the nutrients that we'd be getting otherwise. A lot of people think that taking calcium is the answer to having healthy bones, because they know that, as you get osteoporosis or whatever, that your bones lose calcium. But that's really a huge misunderstanding of the nature of bone and the way the body works, because bones are so much more than calcium. Yes, calcium phosphate is the major mineral found in bones, but in order to affix calcium into the bones and keep it there, the calcium has to be part of a matrix of a lot of other minerals, including magnesium and sodium and chlorine and potassium and sulfur and a lot of trace minerals, selenium, silica, manganese, and so forth. So if you don't have all of these minerals, which we've already established are lacking in our diets, it's very difficult to maintain healthy bones, teeth, and structural tissues. One way that native peoples basically got these nutrients was making stock. Um, what they would do is they would take the scraps of bone from the chickens and the fish and the meat, like the fish heads, the chicken feet, and so forth, and they would shove the bones and these little parts of the animal that they weren't so appetizing into a pot of water, and they would cook it, simmer it. Uh, and what this is doing is extracting out all of the minerals and many of the proteins and things that are necessary for healthy bones, muscles, and connective tissue. These include gelatin, collagen, glucosamine, chondroitin, hyaluronic acid, calcium, and all the other minerals that are found in bone. And so one really good way, as food-wise, to nourish your bones is to make some stock. Get some good, soup bones or other things you can make good stock with once a week. You can also take colloidal minerals. Colloidal minerals are made by leaching mineral-rich clay from ancient seabeds and contain varying amounts of 72 macro or trace minerals. And I also use colloidal minerals and a foliar spray to feed my plants to give them more minerals, which actually helps them grow and produce better. Fat-soluble vitamins are also really important to bone and connective tissue and muscle health. As I mentioned, Dr. Price found that native diets had 10 times more fat-soluble vitamins than modern diets. And again, that was in the 30s when people were still eating things like butter instead of margarine and shortening. So the fat-soluble vitamins are A, vitamin D, especially vitamin D3, vitamin E, and vitamin K, and especially a form of vitamin K called K2. The Weston Price found that giving people fish liver oil and butter from grass-fed cows, which he said contained this mysterious, what he called X factor, that was extremely critical for bone and teeth health, that he would help to regenerate people's health and also regenerate their structural system. We know that the fish liver oils are not only high in omega-3 essential fatty acids, but they're also high in vitamin A and vitamin D. And there are some modern researchers who believe that the X factor that Weston Price was talking about is actually vitamin K2. And so getting these vitamins is very helpful for improving our structural system. In fact, probably vitamin D is one of the things that's really lacking that causes people to develop arthritis and osteoporosis. So when we look at the Nature Sunshine lifestyle analysis, all of these questions are related to the possible need to work with the structural system of the body. Problems with the skin, obviously, restless sleep, which can be a sign of not having enough minerals and nutrients, menopausal concerns, brittle fingernails and hair loss. Those are, of course, signs that we're not getting the nutrients to keep the structural system healthy. Difficulty maintaining ideal weight, muscle discomfort, or in other words, muscle pain or weakness. Drinking a lot of caffeinated beverages. There's a tendency for caffeinated beverages to leach some of the minerals out of the body, because of their high acidity. Also feeling out of control, because a lot of these minerals are also involved in balancing your nervous system. Of course, any kind of muscle or joint discomfort, and not getting enough exercise. So when a person has a lot of problems related to the structural system, one of the first things that we can do, besides encouraging them to, exercise and stretch and watch their posture, is to give them a supplement that's going to give them a lot of these nutrients that are missing in our diets that are needed for structural health. And a great product is skeletal strength. This is a great product because it's not just a calcium supplement. You notice it's got those fat-soluble vitamins, or at least two of them, vitamin A and vitamin D3, which are so important for structural health, as well as some water-soluble vitamins that are also needed for laying down bone and helping the structural system. And in addition to calcium, it's got iron, phosphorus, magnesium, zinc, copper, manganese, potassium, and boron. A lot of trace minerals that are very, very critical to being able to assimilate and utilize calcium and get it to lay into the bones and actually function properly. It's also got horsetail, which is an herb that's rich in silica, which is also very, very important in the matrix of bone, skin, hair, and so forth. You cannot absorb these minerals without hydrochloric acid, so this actually also contains hydrochloric acid, which helps you assimilate the minerals as well. And then there are some other herbs in here that contain minerals, and also pineapple, which contains an enzyme, and papaya, which contains enzymes. because you also need to be able to break this down and assimilate it. So this is just a really good all-round supplement for providing nutrients to help you have healthy bones and teeth and connective tissues. Other products that we have that can help include alfalfa, which is just a single herb that's got a lot of nutrients, especially a lot of minerals. It's a really good nutrient-rich herb for supplying trace minerals to the body. It can be very helpful for nourishing the structural system. Aloe vera juice, which is very good for helping the GI tract heal, but can also be helpful for reducing inflammation and irritation in joints and tissues because it's very cooling and soothing. This other formula, Chinese herb and mineral formula, this is fantastic. I mentioned the colloidal minerals. The minerals in here are those colloidal minerals, those varying amounts of 72 approximately trace minerals that are combined with a lot of Chinese tonic herbs that help reduce stress levels, help balance out the body, herbs that have been used to help counteract the effects of aging. This is a marvelous tonic for helping your structural system, your nervous system, your immune system, your glandular system, just helping to keep your body in balance. Everflex contains some nutrients that help to help improve joint health and is a great supplement when you're having problems with your joints. And same thing with glucosamine. Glucosamine is a supplement that's part of the joint matrix, and taking it can help with the rebuilding the joints. Horsetail and rosemary combination is a combination of silica-rich herbs. And as I mentioned, silica, although there's not really a lot of talk about the importance of it, is very, very important for the health of hair, skin, fingernails, bones, teeth, and your nerves. Silica imparts flexible strength to body tissues. So calcium, if you think about it, is actually quite brittle. Chalk is calcium carbonate, and you know how easy it is to break a piece of chalk. That's why the other minerals are necessary to mix into the bone matrix to give bones strength and flexibility. And the same is true for other tissues as well. So silica helps keep your hair from frizzing or fraying at the ends, helps keep it strong and healthy, helps keep your skin having a nice sheen. It helps your fingernails to be strong but not brittle, helps your joints to be more resilient, and helps your nerves also to be resilient because silica is also part of the myelin sheath. Magnesium works hand in hand with calcium. In fact, I don't really recommend people taking lots of calcium without taking a lot of magnesium to go with it. As from what I understand, breast milk is 2 parts calcium to 1 part magnesium, but most people I find as adults need more like 1 to 1 because they're getting actually less magnesium in their diet than they're getting calcium, and magnesium deficiency is much more widespread than calcium deficiency. If you have a lot of muscle tension and cramping and pain, magnesium is probably an important supplement to take. And then we also mentioned vitamin D3, which is very, very critical to the health of the bones and is also one of the #1 nutrient deficiencies worldwide. And especially if you live in a climate where you're not getting a lot of sun, and especially in the winter, you definitely can benefit from taking D3. In fact, the 2 supplements that I think are probably the most generally needed because the amount of deficiency that's in the general population are vitamin D3 and magnesium, and both are very important for structural health.